Hi, everyone. I'm a developer advocate at Applitools, and we're going to talk about visual validation today. But first, we're going to play a little game of whodunit.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
But how did you know?
Madam, as any horticulturist will tell you, one does not plant petunias until May is out. Take her away.
That's right, madam.
It's just a matter of observation. The real question is, how observant were you?
And action.
Clearly, somebody in this room murdered Lord Smythe, who, at precisely 3:34 this afternoon, was brutally bludgeoned to death with a blunt instrument. I want each of you to tell me your whereabouts at precisely the time that this dastardly deed took place.
I was polishing the brass in the master bedroom.
I was buttering his lordship's scones below stairs, sir.
Why, I was planting my petunias in the potting shed.
Constable, arrest Lady Smythe.
I can't believe you all let a dead man get up and walk away. But actually, I can't believe it because we all suffer from what's called unintentional blindness. This is where you're so focused on a specific task that you miss other things new and unexpected that might come into your vision. And this happens a lot when we're developing our code and we do these little quick, I was about to curse, these little quick half-effort tests, and we miss a lot of what else is going on in our application, right? So how do we solve for this? We usually try to automate these tests so that it's not relying on us. And when we automate the test, then we're making sure that every time that test runs, it's taking the exact same steps and it is verifying the exact same things. And that sounds really good and predictable, right? But what if I told you you were actually coding in the unintentional blindness? Because our scripts are worse than we are. Only looking at the thing that we told it to look at, and it misses anything that we didn't specifically think of to code in. For example, what about if your text is on the screen and you want to verify that this text is there, right? So you write some code and it verifies that it's there. But what if that text was bleeding off the edge of the page? We see this all the time on mobile views. What about if that text was covered by another element, and so your user couldn't even see it? What about if it was the same color as the background, and again, your user couldn't see it? So all of these things would be missed with our traditional assertions. And this isn't one-off type things. This happens all the time. Now that I'm aware of visual testing, I see these visual bugs everywhere in some of your apps as well. Here's an example. This is Cineworld. This is the world's second largest cinema chain. And they had a visual bug on the page that asks you if you would like to store your credit card information. Now, if you saw this in your app, you probably wouldn't think it was a big bug, you know? But how many of you in here would actually store your credit card information? Exactly, no one. No hands were raised. The reason for that is because you look at this and you think, if they didn't even see this, I'm not convinced that they are testing the back end and the stuff that actually holds my private data, right? So engagement here would go really low. Now, your test, as written today, will probably pass because it is looking to see if those labels are there, those radios, the buttons are there. It can click things. Functionally, this works, right? So this gets deployed into production, and you miss this type of thing. This is OpenTable. How many people use OpenTable? Make reservations. Yeah, so I was going to Raleigh, and they're famous for their barbecue, so I wanted to make a dinner reservation at my favorite place there with some of my friends. 7 people, this reservation. So I went to click a time that I wanted, and this modal popped up. And I was a little bit confused at first because there was nothing in the center there. So I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. As I looked around, I noticed in the upper right corner those 2 buttons that say select. So I scratched my head a bit. Okay, what are these buttons? 1, why are there 2 of them? 2, why are they not aligned? And 3, what am I selecting again? And so I did what any of you would do. I opened Chrome DevTools. I began to dig around to figure out what were these buttons. And actually, the labels were there. They were just as far away from the buttons as possible. Again, we think that these people don't test their code, but they might be testing it. The test would pass in this case because the tests are looking in the DOM, right? And all of this stuff is there, it's present, functional, but a user cannot use this, right? And most of their users are not engineers who know about Chrome DevTools and are going to dig in the DOM. So this is money that's being lost. These aren't one-offs. Happens to your favorite tech companies as well. Amazon. Someone not only wants to purchase something, but they want to multiply the number of items, the amount of money they're going to spend. And you have this goofy bug. Facebook, on their marketplace page, I'm going shopping, I want to buy things. I cannot even read the text. Again, your text, yeah, text is present. Instagram, this is my favorite one. The reason this is my favorite one is because this is sponsored content. Someone paid Instagram to show their posts to people, and it looks like this. Again, your test. Is this text present? Yes, yes, yes. And deploy. Twitter. All of the tweets are there. The text is present. We can't read this. This is very annoying. The great news is that we don't have to live like this. Visual testing can also be automated. Now, what is visual testing? It's where you take a screenshot of your application in the state that everything is perfect and as you want it. And then on any regression runs, it takes another screenshot and compares the 2. If there are any differences, it alerts you. Now, visual testing is not something that is very new. It's been around for a while, but we as an industry were using some antiquated methods. So we were comparing them pixel by pixel and making sure that the picture was exactly the same. The problem with this is that pixel comparison is really flaky, not really designed for testing purposes. For example, the top picture is a picture of my app when it's in its perfect state. The second picture is a regression run. The regression run failed. Who can see why? The search button is bold here in the second picture, but not the first. Well, if you put your mouse over the button, it bolds. So if you were running this front-end test and it just so happened that the mouse landed right there when the screenshot was taken, now you have a failed build. Another one, who can see why this one failed? The cursor. So after the word bad, the cursor is solid in the first picture, but not in the second, because cursor's blank, right? So if you happen to take the picture in the split second that is not the same, then that fails. So this became very, very annoying for people. Applitools came out with a way to do visual validation that uses machine learning to be able to only capture the things that we would care about as human beings. Here's another little spot the difference game. You all don't get to play because you let the dead man walk away in the first game. So I did it for you. I ran this through the pixel to pixel, and I ran it through the Applitools. So with pixel to pixel, you notice here pretty much everything is highlighted, very, very sensitive, even to white spaces. Using this, I can't really tell exactly what's different in those pictures. Versus using it with Applitools, it spots the things we would as human beings. Okay? So let's add this to an existing test space. First, let me show you the application that we're going to be testing. It's a single-page application, and it has 8 of my favorite books on testing. And the way that this works, give us some more real estate. The way that this works is you just type in one of the book titles, and it filters that. For example, if I put in test, then I see all the books that have test as part of the title. That's it, okay? And let's look at the test now. So we have 2 tests here. One that is looking for a specific book with the exact title, Agile Testing. So we search for that. We make sure that there's only one book that's returned and that it is the right title. And then the second test, this one is looking for multiple ones. So the one I showed you in the example, you put in the word test. Here are the books that we expect to come back. We validate that all of them are actually visible and they are the right titles. Okay? So let's run this test, this big one. And I'm using Cypress here. Anybody use Cypress? Yeah. Did y'all see the announcement? So they just released 4.0 yesterday, and now cross-browser support. Yes. I know. All right. So we've run this test, and this is passed. Beautiful. Everything is lovely. Okay. Let's switch back to application mode. And let's say we want to like jazz this page up a bit. You know, we want a little bouncy effect or something. So we add a little CSS here. And we have tests. So we feel very confident. And we go ahead and commit this, right? So we run this little test again. And let's see. Oh no, with one line of CSS, I have flipped this application on its head. But the test is still passing. Why is this? Because we said make sure there are 5 books. Are there 5 books? Check. Make sure that those 5 books are these titles. That's true, right? It's missing these other things, the unintentional blindness. So let's add visual testing to see if we can catch these kinds of bugs that our traditional frameworks would miss. Okay. So to add visual testing, the first command is to open your eyes. Beautiful, right? Poetry. So we say side dot eyes open. All right? And then after the test, let's go ahead and make an after each. And in here, we're going to want to close our eyes when we're done. Very intuitive. All right. Okay. Now, within the test itself, let's go ahead and add some visual testing here. So we're going to say side dot eyes check window. And that's the entire thing. This will do a screen capture and do the visual testing. And with that screen capture, it's going to make sure that this title, all of the titles are visible. So really, I don't even need this line anymore. It's going to make sure it's only 5 of them, so I don't need this. So now I'm doing my favorite thing, which is to delete code. I no longer need this array. Oh my gosh, this is getting really good. And I don't need a variable because I'm only using it that one time, so I can put that there. So look how nice my test looks now. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, all right. So let's make sure we put the books back. Yes. Okay, so we're going to run it this first time. And what's going on here? Did I mess something up? Okay, good. Okay, so what's going on here is it takes a picture. It's going to send this image out to the Applitools cloud. And so I don't have to store this stuff on my computer. I can if I wanted to. There's options for that. But by default, this just goes out to the Applitools cloud. And Applitools will then create this as a new baseline, saying, oh, okay, this is a new test that you have. We'll store that there, all right? And then every time I run the regression runs, it's going to compare the two. Now, this is still running because I'm on like my phone Wi-Fi, so it's a little bit slower. But let's go to the Applitools dashboard so we can see. Now, you don't have to do this the very first time you run the test. I'm really done, but I just want to show you this. Okay, so we have this search here. And we see that there's no baseline. So this new image will be the baseline image that will be stored for us once that loads. All right. I don't mind Wi-Fi. It's Tech Girls juice. All right, I'm gonna let that cook. But you see the little thumbnail here, right? All right, so, okay, there it is. All right, so let's talk about this a little bit. This is really powerful. This is great. Like, I want to run this again with the books flipped, and let's make sure that it actually captures that. Okay, so let's uncomment out that. We flip the books, and let's run our test again. Okay, great. So this is now going to take another screenshot, again, sends this out to the cloud, and now it's doing the AI comparisons to make sure that these are the same or not. And then it should alert us when this fails. All right, so you see we got a little error here. In Cypress, you have to go into like Chrome DevTools to see the error, but I'm just going to show you here. So we come back to our dashboard, and we see that now we have this test marked as unresolved. So AI is saying, not failed, but hey, something has changed here, human. Come and see if this is what you wanted, like this was an intentional change or not. Of course, flipping our books upside down is not an intentional change. So we say, oh no, and we just do a thumbs down, and now this test is marked as failed. Okay, so this will capture the things that we miss with our unintentional blindness. We don't have to think of every single assertion to add to our code base. This covers everything. But on the flip side of that, that's also a con, if we think about it, in some cases, right? Because it captures everything. So not just these books, it also captured the text that I put into here, the name of the title on the application, anything else that was going on the page. So that's great in some cases, but it could also be a nuisance in other cases where it's capturing too much, right? So we could solve for this by scoping this down. We don't have to take a picture of the entire page. It's very, very flexible. So if I wanted to do this other test instead, let's disable this one. And here I'm going to do, okay. So this one is the one where it's just one book. Now let's say that I only want this one book captured. I don't want to take a picture of the entire page. So we can simplify this again. We get to delete some code. And then let's do the sci.eyes check window. And this time we can specify some information. So we can say target a specific region and give it the selector for that region that you want targeted. So I already know that it has an ID of PID3. So I'm saying just do this one book, all right? So if we run this again, did I mess up my search? Oh, okay, there it is. All right, so it takes a picture of this, but this time only the book. So it finds that selector, it takes a picture of that, and then sends it off to Applitools to do the comparison. So let's look at what that looks like. All right, so we have a new test here, and we see that it's only the book that's captured, not all the rest of the noise. So this is pretty powerful as well. We can scope it down as we want, but there's some drawbacks to this approach too, right? So for example, let's say that I actually typed in the word agile testing here, and it didn't work. The filter didn't work. None of the books were filtered away. All of them were still there. Would this test pass or would it fail? How many say pass? How many say fail? How many are on the edge of their seats waiting? Okay, so this would actually pass because it's going to find that specific region that I told it, and that book is there and it looks beautiful. So this would pass. So we could couple our visual assertions with the traditional functional ones as well. So in this case, we could say, okay, only do the visual testing on that one book, but then make sure that there's only one book showing. So that way you're mixing and matching. It doesn't have to replace everything you already have. You can do both, okay? You can also do testing on dynamic layouts. So let's look at another test. Let's go ahead and just make one really quickly. And this one we're going to say should have a nice layout. And this time we're not even going to search. Okay, so we're just going to look at the layout. Let's stop it. Who works on VS Code here? I don't like that part. I don't like that feature. All right. So have a nice layout here. So let's go ahead and run this as is. So what this is going to do is it is going to, at this point it's running as normally, but we're going to add some things here to say, you know what, I want to test some dynamic content. It might not always be the same every time. So the way that this works is it's going to use machine learning to observe any patterns that it can find with this application. And the patterns that I'm guessing it's seeing is, okay, we have some squares, and they are this much width apart, and they all have like a purple thing at the top and some white text in it, and a picture and some bold text and blah, blah, blah. So it's figuring those things out, and then we can actually go into our application and we can change the order of, let's just change the order of a couple of books, all right? Now, in order to say, hey, Applitools, we want to do some dynamic testing here. We are going to say inside of here, we can do match level. And say this equals a layout match level, okay? And then we'll run this again. And there are 4 different types of match levels. So the one we've been using by default was strict. That just does a regular comparison. There is exact, which does pixel to pixel, but we say no to pixel, right? So don't use that one. And there is this one, layout, which does the dynamic content. And then there's also a content one that does colorblind comparison. All right, so let's look at this test. I've run it twice, so I should have a baseline. Yes. All right, so notice here that cucumber book in the first picture was in the 3rd place on the 2nd row, but in the 2nd picture, it is the 2nd place. And this still passed because it noticed, okay, the layout and everything is fine. Nothing looks messed up here. And if I wanted to preview this in a different match level just to see it, if I did it in strict mode, it would have captured that these books were different. Right? So this is really powerful. We used this when I was working at Twitter after the ugly bug we found. And we have like news sites and things that use this where their content is going to be different pretty much every time the app loads. But structurally, you want to make sure everything looks good. All right. And finally, last thing I want to show you is that you can do cross-browser testing with this as well. So let's get rid of that. And I'm going to, I shouldn't do that. Just pass in like all of the things I want to test on. So I want to test on Firefox and Chrome and IE, and I want to test on iPhone 10 and in landscape mode and in Galaxy. So I can just add this here, and this will run all of those tests across all of those configurations. So wait a minute, let's run both of those tests that we had, our first 2 tests. Okay. So notice this just opened in Electron or whatever. This is not going into all of those different browsers, at least not from our view. So what this is doing, it's really magical in my mind. It is capturing the DOM and all of its assets. So all of the JS files, all of the CSS files, and it's taking it in that state and then blasting it across all of the configurations that we said. So you don't have to execute those scenarios over and over again across all of these platforms. It just takes it once it's already in that state and shows what it'll look like in all of them. So if we go back to our dashboard, let's see what we have here. Okay, voila. So in a matter of seconds, we've run these 12 tests. It's a lot to look at. I can even group this down to like by device or like by browser. And then I can manage this a little bit more. And I see that that test has run. So this is iPhone in whatever mode that is. Which one is that? Landscape. And this is portrait. And then this is the book on both as well. So that is visual testing in a nutshell. Very, very powerful stuff. You can open your free account on Applitools site. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll be around for the rest of the day, and you can also hit me up on Twitter at TechGirl1908 if you don't, or if you're too shy to come talk to me in person. All right, thank you so much.